Joining me is Rowan Dean, editor of The Spectator Australia and host of Outsiders, here on Sky on Sundays at 9 a.m. Rowan, is there a lesson here?
There certainly is a lesson here, Andrew. Back in those glory days, back in 1974, ABBA came to prominence at the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo. That was their first hit. And it's kind of ironic because, once Europe threw open its arms under Angela Merkel to illegal immigrants from around the world, asylum seekers from around the world, Sweden certainly has gone on to meet its own Waterloo. And that is because of the failure to assimilate. And it all boils down to this. They're calling in the army, and the police chiefs and the army and the politicians are all recognizing the simple fact. They call it different things: failure to integrate, failure to assimilate. They throw in drugs and so on. But the real reason is, as has been known, as I've said on this show many times before, Enoch Powell was right back in the 1960s when he said, yes, immigration is fine, but unless you have assimilation to accompany it, you're going to end up with rivers of blood. And that is exactly what has happened in Sweden. And the lesson, Andrew, is that if you take a group of predominantly males, not exclusively, predominantly males, and throw them into an alien culture and do not put in the effort to encourage integration. Now, the first thing I'd say, Andrew, is that there are many, many immigrants, illegal or legal, asylum seekers or simply immigrants. Of course they integrate. Of course they assimilate. They want nothing more than to adopt the country that they have come to live in, adopt its values. And we often see migrants, immigrants, even illegal asylum seekers becoming more British or more Australian or more Swedish than the country they've gone into. But unfortunately, there tend to be many who look at it the other way and simply cannot understand this alien culture they've become part of, and soon find themselves in gangs, selling drugs, crime, etc., at the mercy of drug lords, crime lords, and this is where the violence just escalates, which we're seeing now in Sweden. It's a tragedy.
Yes, I must say, though, it's often said, like an accusation in France, you haven't done enough to assimilate your migrants, and the accusation, Sweden, you haven't done enough to assimilate yours. But it comes a time, of course, where the question must be, are you trying to mix oil with water with some pockets of the people that are coming there? That it's not a question of have you done enough, it's whether it is possible, given all the limitations of what you actually can do. Rowan, the race business now, it's an industry now. It's way out of hand. Of all things, you won't believe this, a concert in Germany, it's now been cancelled because the didgeridoo player is a white guy. And apparently this is called cultural appropriation, of course. It's stealing Aboriginal culture. Here he is. I think he's all right. Now, for me, Rowan, the question now is, if a white man can't play the didgeridoo, can a black man play a guitar?
Well, that's exactly right. But remember the basic rules of wokeness, which is it all only goes in one direction, Andrew. It never goes in both directions. So, of course, a white person can't play a didgeridoo, but of course, a black or non-white person of any description can play any instrument whatsoever. But it's quite amusing because there was a clip doing the rounds following this on social media today, which went back and showed, funnily enough, in Germany, poor old Hugh Jackman trying to stand on one leg during the promotional tour for the film Australia with Nicole Kidman, trying to pretend to behave in an Indigenous way because the strong image from that film was someone playing a didgeridoo. Australia has promoted the didgeridoo around the world, the songs, like Down Under and any number of great pop songs and artists for many, many years have loved the didgeridoo. It's got that droney kind of quality. It's fantastic for many sorts of pop and modern music. So the idea that the only people who lose out in this is, of course, Indigenous Australians, because Indigenous Australians who would love to go and play the didgeridoo in a rock group or sell the didgeridoos around the world, suddenly you're not allowed to play the didgeridoo any longer. This always ends up defeating the people
Aboriginal people
who
would
are
be able
supposed to help.
Aboriginal people would be able to. But here's the thing. I mean, why don't you give that instrument like a gift to the world? You know, that we come together.
Exactly.
That we
That's
play
my
each other's
point.
instruments,
Exactly.
and you know, that's seriously. You know, it's so to ghettoize culture like this is an insult to people's intelligence. Now, I've only got a minute left, but I've got to say this: there's a bullying culture of the left. It's not just here in London's West End. A performance of Les Mis was stopped by global warming extremists who even forced the evacuation of the theatre. The audience was furious. Here they are. And one of the protesters yelled at the audience, you know, it's anti-oil. The show starts with Jean Valjean stealing a loaf of bread to feed his sister's starving child. How long before we are all forced to steal loaves of bread? The show cannot go on. I mean, Rowan, climate extremists saying we all now will soon steal bread if we don't stop oil?
Well, the good news is increased carbon dioxide around the world means more wheat, more barley, more bread, so there'll be more bread. So Just Stop Oil should recognise this fact and encourage more carbon dioxide so that we don't have to steal bread, but there's an abundance of it. We will have to steal theatre tickets, though, because not many people are going to be going if they're going to be interrupted like this, Andrew.
Good on you. Rowan Dean, thanks for your time.